Hello, students, and welcome. Today we have a very special guest speaker. We have Sharron Mendel-Swain, who is the managing producer of Bham Now. Thank you so much for joining us, Sharron.
I'm so happy to be here.
Well, start by telling us a little bit about what you do day to day. Tell us about Bham Now for those who may not be familiar with the excellent local publication that you guys do, as well as what your role of managing producer is.
Okay. So Bham Now is a almost 4-year-old digital media publication. We're a digital media startup in Birmingham, and we focus on positive news for the greater Birmingham area. We're all about making Birmingham better, smarter, healthier, cleaner, happier, all of those things. And we don't do crime. We don't do politics. We'll tell you to vote, but we're not going to tell you who to vote for. And we don't do Alabama and Auburn football. We might tell you where there's a watch party for an Alabama-Auburn game, but we're not going to say, we're not going to get into all of it. My role is I'm the managing producer. And as the managing producer, it's funny you had the slip, like managing editor. It is sort of like a managing editor role. I work together with my boss, who's the owner of the company, to look at the slate, which is what we are planning to write for every 2 weeks. The slate changes on a daily basis based off of what's coming up. And then sometimes, like earlier this summer, we have to throw the whole slate out and we have to start over again because life throws us a curveball and we have to pivot. I also review a lot of the work. I do a lot of training with the team to help get everybody to, when anybody comes to write for Bham Now, whether they're an intern or whether they're a full hire, we all have things we have to unlearn about how we wrote before, and then we have to learn a new style. And so I do a lot of training around that and managing the content team and probably about a million other things that I can't think of right now.
Yeah, the roles of journalists are definitely multifaceted in a lot of different ways, having to cover a lot of different jobs.
And I forgot to say, I produce my own content. I produce 4 to 5 stories a week as well as doing all of that.
4 or 5 stories. No big. Yeah. Excellent. Well, you talked a lot about writing and training and kind of a certain style of writing. Tell us about what makes Bham Now unique in your writing style.
So we try to be super fun and very engaging. We want people to feel like they just heard about some great new restaurant or something happening in the city from like their best friend or their neighbor. We don't want it to feel stuffy and formal. We also, so we use slang. We make sure there's lots of white space. You know, if you're used to writing 5-paragraph sentences, you're going to have to break them into 2 paragraphs. So there's white space. We're writing for people's phones, and so we put in a lot of pictures. There's a lot of visual things that break up so that, because nobody wants to read a wall of text on their phone unless you're reading The Atlantic, and that's a whole nother story. And yeah, those are some of the things.
So you have kind of a unique brand voice that you want your writers to pay attention to.
Sure.
Well, tell us a little bit about what the expectation for people working at Bham Now would be in terms of writing and storytelling. You said 4 or 5 different stories a week you're producing alone on top of your managing producer responsibilities.
Yes. So most of our producers are producing 5 stories a week plus at least 1 breaking business news story a week. Those are usually in the 500-ish word range. Mine usually tend to be longer. We usually put in about 5 photos per story. The breaking news story is about 300 words-ish with photos, but we're also doing things like going out and doing things on Instagram, covering openings, covering events, where sometimes we do a lot of work with sponsors. So for example, we have clients such as, we have nonprofit clients, we have corporate clients. We really try to bring all the different aspects of the Birmingham area together. And so like, today I was working on something for Children's of Alabama, and I'm working on a piece for them right now. I'm drafting it to go together with an Instagram campaign that's going to publish on Tuesday. But then also on Tuesday, our videographer is going to be filming some November content for Children's And, you know, so we're juggling all that behind the scenes as well as what we're actually publishing on a daily basis.
I like that you mentioned really having to be multimedia in format. You're talking about producing an Instagram campaign. You're also doing videography on top of the writing. So talk to me about the model that Be Him Now uses in terms of multiple modalities and what that would mean for someone working for the organization.
It's a good question. So I will say, we have a full-time videographer. I am not that person. So what other producers and I do is pre-production on videos, and then he takes it from there, and he's amazing. I do not have those skills. I think maybe one or two other people on the team do, but I don't. Same with photography. We have some amazing photographers, and then we have some that are very amateur like me. But I think the best way I can answer it is by talking about one of our producers who actually is an Auburn graduate. And I think she really had the right idea when she was in college, because she studied journalism and then she also studied photography. And then she did one other thing, and I can't remember what it was, but she kind of envisioned it as like a tripod. And I think that was brilliant because she brings such a good visual eye. She actually manages our Instagram. She has such a great visual eye. She can take gorgeous photos. She can stage beautiful photos, which is very valuable for client work, because let's say we have a catering company. She can stage a beautiful Thanksgiving dinner and take amazing pictures of that, and it looks fantastic. And she can write a really, really good story. And then the two together just make our clients really happy and also make our readers really happy. So I think for anyone who's studying journalism today, it's really wise to develop both your visual storytelling skills, whether that's through photography, whether that's through video. And it doesn't even have to be super long format video. Like if you love TikTok, rock on with your bad self with TikTok, and then you can translate that into Instagram Reels, and then you can begin to translate that into like little 1-minute videos, and you'd be amazed what you can do with 1-minute video. Like you don't have to go become a documentarian and do like hour-long things. Yeah, so I think all of the different, being able to use all these different elements, writing, video, photography, to tell stories. And we don't do podcasts, but other people do. I mean, that's another way that people get their messages out. But explore as many of those as you can and get your hands in them, because chances are throughout the course of your career, you may be asked to work in each one of those different arenas or combine them all in some kind of way.
Well, one thing that I really appreciate as a Be Him Now consumer, someone who reads the newsletter magazine, who, follows the digital publication as well as social media accounts, is just all the different kinds of content that you guys have. I also like that the content is journalistic in nature, but then you have some sponsored posts as well that are really PR in nature because you're working with clients. Talk to me a little bit about that different business model that you guys have.
Yeah. So, people might be a little bit more familiar with the idea of you have your newsroom and then you have your advertising department. And that's sort of an old model. I mean, maybe some people still use it, but we don't. We actually, our whole mission is to bring all the different parts of Birmingham together. And that means rich and poor, black and white, business, nonprofit, all the different things. And so our sponsors are different entities that we reach out to, and then they pay us to create content for them. And when we do that, we're not just creating something that goes on their website, although they can put it on their website. We're creating something that then we push out onto our channels. And so let's say, for example, AIDS Alabama partners with us, we can write a story about so here's an example. We wrote a story recently back in January about a new homeless shelter for teens in the greater Birmingham area. And it's the first time that something like this is going to be created. Well, we found out yesterday that because of that article, a completely not anonymous, completely new to them person came out of the woodwork and donated $10,000 to that project. We also had, we've done other things where we find out later on that partnerships occurred because somebody read this on Be Him Now and then they put it together with that. So that's kind of the really exciting part. So we're trying to do a little bit more than PR, because with our clients, usually there is a clear call to action, like donate to this or sign up for that or go to this event. But we're also really trying to give something to our readers as well. We're trying to let them know how you can get engaged and involved in Birmingham, because that was really one of the reasons our founder, Cindy Martin, started it. Was so many people were saying, like, I just don't know how to get involved in Birmingham. I don't know what's going on. So those relationships with our sponsors really help us to get that word out.
Yeah, that's excellent. And it's great to see new and innovative business models that are helping keep news organizations relevant, mattering, still being, so important to the community and tying people together. It's something that I really love about your publication, and hope more magazines and digital products will do that. So last question, what advice would you have for students who are interested in media? What's the top tip you would give them?
That's really broad. Can we narrow it down a little bit?
Sure. So if you have someone who wants to become a media writer and they are really trying to develop a key skill, what skill do you think the modern journalist really needs?
That is a really hard question.
I'm sorry.
Well, it's hard because media is so broad, and so much of media right now is so very, very, very divisive and so very contentious. And I think you're going to need a whole set of skills if that's the arena that you want to jump into. But if you want to, maybe I can speak to the skills that you need if you want to find a corner of the positive media world, because it's a happy little island that, some people might want to land on. And I think in that one, it's probably not that different from anything else. It's just that constant curiosity, constant ear to the ground, kind of looking for what's interesting. We're always talking about what's buzzy, what's breaking. But when you know that, then you have to develop all these other skills to be able to tell a story. So I don't know if I could narrow it down to just one.
Yeah, well, I think, what you're talking about with wanting to tell stories that matter to people, finding newsworthy things going on in your community, those are great skills for any media professional. And I think speak, not only to the positive media, which is
Sure.
so needed in today's society, but to all different kinds of journalism. So I think that's great advice. Well, Sharron, thank you so much for speaking to our class today. Really appreciate your time. So thankful for your publication. If you guys don't read Be Him Now, you should. It is wonderful. And I'm not like, she didn't pay me or anything. I'm speaking as a consumer. So be sure to check it out. Thank you again, Sharron, for your time. Hope you guys have a great day.